Here is a nightlight that I got for the hallway of my apartment, and this is quite a nice one. As you can see, it doesn't block the wall outlet because it gives you another one right on the front. And it also has a light sensor built in, which is that thing right there. As you can see, if we block that, it turns on. The problem is, with this little night light, it's not a night light, really, it's a floodlight. This thing is crazy bright. So, in today's episode of DrCassette's workshop, we're going to see what we can do about that. This is the back of the unit. Bought this in a home improvement store. And as you can see, as you can hopefully see, down in there is the first problem. This is using some special safety screws, and you can't get in there with a regular screwdriver, but you can always go and modify a regular screwdriver to fit into there. And that's what I've done, as you can see. So I'm now going to go and take this thing apart. Here we have the nightlight all taken apart and plugged into a socket. You can see if I block the light sensor, there we have the LEDs, and you can see how bright these things are. Interesting thing is, they actually did this quite nicely. These LEDs, might be able to see looking at them from the side, these are not the typical standard LEDs. These are LEDs that where the light is not that focused. So it's actually quite a nice design. They did use the type of LEDs that work best in this kind of application. Other than that, this circuit board is, well, there's not a lot of space in the unit to begin with. So there is no switch mode power supply or anything like that. I guess it's just rectifier and a dropping resistor. You can see some high power resistors down there, some diodes. And it does have a surprisingly high amount of transistors in there. I'm not sure why. And then this, I assume, is an op-amp, LNK302PN. It turns out this is not an op-amp. This is a lowest component count energy efficient offline switcher IC made by a company called Power Integrations. And what we're seeing in this nightlight is most likely the high side buck boost constant current LED driver application. You can see one of the pins is missing. That's kind of interesting. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as just taking out one or two LEDs or something like that, because this is actually, these LEDs are hooked up in series. They're hooked up the way they should be hooked up, actually, but in this case that's actually a bit of a problem. So I guess I'll have to see if I can find a dropping resistor that I can maybe replace, because you know, in order to make this a bit darker, we'll definitely have to take some of these LEDs out. I tried analyzing the circuit a little bit, but unfortunately it was not very conclusive. Here we have the power supply, and as I said, it's a very simple affair. We have our mains coming in right there. It just goes through a dropping resistor and into, well, I'm not sure if that's a capacitor or a spike protector. I think a varistor. We have two diodes, and then we have this capacitor, 2.2 microfarads, 400 volts. Get a resistor. These are both high power resistors, or relatively high power resistors. We have another 2.2 microfarad capacitor there, and then it just disappears into what I think is an op-amp. The other connection is the ground. Here we have the part with the LEDs, and as you can see, this totally isn't anything that would instantly make sense. This right here has some sort of a relation to the light sensor, so I'm not sure. I mean, the IC hooks up over here, but with a light sensor sitting over here, maybe this is the transistor that turns it all on and off. So what you could do is try changing the value of this resistor right there in order to drop the voltage across these 3 diodes so that we can replace them with just one. Or what you could also do is replace one of the diodes with a resistor, short out that diode and keep that diode. That should have the same effect. Of course, you would have to figure out a resistor with the same voltage drop as one of these LEDs. So we'll have to keep working with this. I think we are getting somewhere. I made this sleeve to cover up the light sensor, and as you can see, if that's fully covered up, these LEDs are crazy bright. They have a 3.5 volt drop across them, so these are really quite high power LEDs. I connected a potentiometer in series with this resistor, and just as I thought, if I turn this thing, as you can see, it acts as a dimmer. So we can definitely work with that. It turns out this circuit is quite a bit more sophisticated than I thought, because it actually drives the LEDs the proper way, with a constant current. So we always have the same current flowing through here, and that's actually a good thing, because that means we don't have to mess around with this resistor. We don't have to worry about the voltage drop across each LED, because it's going to regulate itself automatically so that the certain current is flowing. And now the current going through LEDs is much less critical than the voltage drop. Of course, not all LEDs take the same current, but most of them are within a certain range. So I was able to replace the high voltage drop super bright white LEDs with these standard yellow LEDs, and if I block the sensor, as you can see, it works perfectly fine. And now this may seem kind of dim right now, but when it's in the middle of the night, this is going to be plenty of light for you to see where you're going, and it's not going to light up the whole entire room like the old LEDs did. The old LEDs, of course, had a voltage drop of around 3.5 volts. Now, with these LEDs, the voltage drop is only about 2.4 volts, so it went down considerably, and yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm going to try it out, and you know, if this should turn out to be too dim, then I can always come back and put in these brighter yellow LEDs. But I think yellow is a much nicer color than this cold white. So I'm now going to go ahead and put this back together. And here it is, all back together. If I block the sensor, it will get a bit brighter. As you can see, as I already said, it's not much, but it should be enough. So there you have it. A bit of a Nightlight modification. Thank you for watching, and see you again soon.